first big topic I want to talk about is what and who next for Manchester United. Okay, they're out of the Champions League. They crashed out at the last 16 stage. They lost at home to Atletico Madrid 1-0, lost 2-1 on aggregate. And they're really up against it, aren't they, to finish in the top 4 of the Premier League this season. Arsenal seem to have the edge in that battle. Nick, what's going on at Man United? Who and what next? Because this is turning into not just a short-term problem, but a long-term problem now. It's been 5 years without a trophy for Manchester United, and that is their longest trophy drought in 40 years, would you believe? So this is a club that's so used to success, but if you watch David De Gea's press conference, I know you had the post up at Pro Soccer Talk on his comments, he was devastated, despondent, and that just matches the mood around the club right now. So where can they go from here, mate?
So I think there's going to be some suffering, more suffering at Manchester United. And the reason I say that is because I don't know that there is any solution other than picking a guy that you believe in, telling him you believe in him, giving him the keys to the kingdom, and waiting 2 years to be into his system. I don't know that there is any other solution, because when I look at this team, I don't look at them as, well, what if they get in the top 4? I don't think they will. But if they do, great. But I think this is a little bit like, as we talk about the, it's the NHL trade deadline. The NBA had its trade deadline. We do this in Major League Baseball and American sports. And I wonder if Manchester United wouldn't, if you walked up to them today and say, you're not finishing the top 4, if they wouldn't be like, can we sell our assets and just drop to 9th? Because I think they would love a year to just focus on one squad, 118, to build that and build cohesion. I'm very worried about what they're going to do, because we talked about this last week and I'm starting to buy into this philosophically. Look at Klopp and Guardiola. One of the things that's so strong for them is that they've been around and been doing it for some time at the same club. Arsenal is looking like they're reaping the benefits from that as well. And if you look back to when Tottenham led its charge, that was under one boss, one philosophy largely as well. So guys, tell me I'm wrong that we're not looking at 2 years at least until United is at the place they want to be and they expect to be in the world.
I agree with that totally. I think in terms of the rebuild project, I feel like we're here every single year with Manchester United. It's like, okay, let's try and get into the top 4, and then we're going to buy the players. We're going to buy a midfielder. We're going to buy a striker. That will solve the problem. But the issues are so much bigger than that, right, Andy? They need, like Nick said, a clear philosophy, and not just the manager. It's someone in place, technical director, sporting director, whatever you want to call it, who's saying, this is our clear plan and philosophy. We're going to follow this recruitment by hook or by crook. This is the way that we're going to do it. And there are going to be more growing pains along the way, but this is what Manchester United does, because at the moment, there is no clear identity to this club, and there hasn't been for the last 5 years, right, Andy?
I feel like if whoever's going to be running Manchester United in the summer goes back through the archives of PST, I feel like we've had this conversation at least 6 times. And there's probably, within all of those conversations, you can probably piece together an actual plan of how to rebuild this team. And that's the thing that you have to remember is rebuilds don't happen overnight. Rebuilds don't happen in a transfer window or a season. And to piggyback on Nick's point, look at Arsenal right now. If United were to kind of the bottom's not going to fall out, I don't think, on them, because there's enough raw talent, I think, to get them enough results. But if it were to fall out and they were to finish outside of Europe completely, how much of an asset and a help has that been for Arsenal this season to be able to focus fully on the Premier League right now, as Liverpool and Man City and Chelsea and Man United are in the Champions League, and you've got Leicester there and then in the Europa League. It's just, when they can focus that way and build a squad for the one competition, I think then they can truly begin to move forward. And they need that philosophy. They need that mind and that idea put in place so that they know what they're looking for in the summer transfer window. Because as things stand right now, it feels like whatever money they have, they're going to go out, sign the biggest names once again, and say, okay, this is our team. We're going to hope that this just works this time, when it hasn't the last 3 or 4 times they've tried that.
And that's what they're going to do, right? They're just going to keep buying players, and that's what they have been doing. But they need to stop that. But for me, it's not even about the players. I don't think it really matters what players you have. They have some of the best players in the world on their squad, and it's not working because they don't have a plan or an identity. We know that. We said that, like you said, many, many times on this show. Nick, the bigger thing here is Ralph Rangnick obviously is only in charge until the end of the season, and then he's due to be a consultant, whatever that means, for the next 2 years. Do you actually think he's going to stick around considering the job he's done? Because he steadied the ship slightly, but they still haven't progressed into the latter stages of the Champions League. It looks like it's going to be an uphill battle to finish in the top 4 because they need someone to head it up and lead this rebuild. But I just don't know if he's the man to do that. And secondly, the manager situation, Pochettino, Eric Ten Hag, maybe Thomas Tuchel's name's been mentioned with the Chelsea situation. Who do you want to see come in and actually manage and coach this team? And is it better to maybe say, we want to give them all the power like Pochettino basically had at Tottenham in the past? And it's just easier and streamlines it all, right? If you have a manager who's strong enough to build an identity on and off the pitch for the club, then surely that might be a slightly easier route to go down.
It is. I have to wonder because there are stories about camps within the team and this within the players, but then you start to pick out like what players are in camps without trying to get all nationality about it, which is, fraught for so many different reasons. I look at them and I think I like the idea of Ten Hag. I like the idea of Tuchel as well. Pochettino is interesting to me. Is there a chance that he's going to help you bring in someone that he's worked with who's an incredible thing? Are you what is their fix? Is it trying to lure Kylian Mbappe? Is it trying to bring in Harry Kane? Because I think what De Gea said that stung the most was that this is a team that is probably happy to the expectation to reach the top 4 and a team that is happy to be to this stage of the competition. And if it doesn't end up with a trophy, whatever. And remember that De Gea was there when they won the Premier League in 2012-13. He has won Europa League with Atletico Madrid and with Manchester United. So I'm kind of leaning on him. It's funny. I see similarities between De Gea this season and Hugo Lloris 2 seasons ago when Pochettino left. And I can't help but think that United might be, you're asking a question, are they in a better place than Tottenham Hotspur? And I think the answer is no.
Andy, do you agree with that? And who would you like to see come in as a manager for Manchester United? I mean, out of those names, or is there another name you'd like to see come in?
Yeah, I think for the simple fact that Spurs are now, 3 months into the Conte project, that they've obviously got a little bit of a head start. They had a transfer window with him in place already, and I think that was key to just begin that project. And so their timeline might be a little bit more advanced than Manchester United at the moment. I think in terms of probably the raw talent in the squad, still would shade to United. But in terms of having a philosophy and an idea put into place and players beginning to learn it and buy into it, I think that's what we've seen from Spurs in the last handful of games. And even the defeat to United over the weekend, they battled in a way that for a lot of this season they've not done. And so I think it's encouraging to see that. But for United to pick up the victory in the manner that they did, I think it just went to prove once again that in the big games they can rise to the occasion of the big game. But to do it every single game for 38 games in the Premier League, and as an aside, I think Ronaldo is learning that, or not learning it, but being reminded of that now at this point of his career and the age that he's at, that he can be effective on a Saturday or a Sunday. But then if you need him again on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the following Saturday and Sunday again, he cannot give you that. And so the fact that they went out and brought him into this team, and that was supposed to be the fix, I think, from the summer, it smacks of not having a plan and not really knowing who's in charge. So I guess who to put in charge? Conte would have been, I think at the time when he was available, would have been a smart hire, somebody who would look to build something. He's a little bit volatile, and so that could have been a combustible situation just given the size of the club there in Manchester. Pochettino is probably the right one, though. He was probably the right one 2 years ago and 3 years ago and 4 years ago, because he is a builder. He is a project builder. He did it at Spurs. He did it for a long time. He took over from Tim Sherwood. I don't know if people remember that, but Mauricio Pochettino took over from Tim Sherwood and made them into Champions League finalists within 5 years.
Well, so I look at kind of what you're saying, Andy, and going back to the Ronaldo point, I don't know that was supposed to fix everything as much as it was classic United reacting that he might go to Man City. right? And I'm wondering, like, that isn't that the story of there's a big player going somewhere and he has ties to us, so we better take him. Feels like that's kind of Pogba as well, right? We have to
and that's so much worse. That's so much worse than saying signing Ronaldo will fix us, because that's doing something based on everybody else.
But that's exactly right. And you start to wonder about camps in that team when they talk about it. Well, I want to be right now in De Gea's camp, because this guy didn't quit when everybody wanted him to be out as their number one keeper. He's back to world-class form. He has shown that ability. You have guys like him, McTominay's young, but I think is showing the requisite effort on a night-by-night basis. But who are the other guys? Marcus Rashford, if there's one indictment I want to make, and I guess we heard this from Solskjaer as well, so maybe we need to know more about what's going on with Marcus Rashford. But how is this guy not playing when he was going to be the face of the club and the face of England, right? The next guy who slides in when Harry Kane takes a step back. There are so many ingredients here, and that's why I hesitated before making the Tottenham comparison. So you need less reactionary, more growth, and maybe that's why Ten Hag is the choice. He's got the reputation. He's turned down other jobs. He accepts this one. That's your victory. Here are the young kids. Go ahead, son.
Is there a parallel we can see between another Premier League giant and what they did to recover their standing in the game and get back to winning trophies? But I'm thinking, I can see you shaking your head, but I think Liverpool's the perfect model for thinking what they were. And then they had Brendan Rodgers. He brought some success, and then bringing in Jurgen Klopp. And let's not forget, the first couple of seasons under Klopp weren't the greatest. They were there or thereabouts in the top six, obviously getting to a few cup finals, but he had to slowly but surely move on a lot of players, build his team, took a lot of time and added quality instead of quantity of players and the right players that fit his system. Sometimes you think, even when Mohamed Salah came in, you think, well, would he be able to do it in the Premier League? Yes, he will. Same with Sadio Mane, same with Robertson. Obviously, Van Dijk and Alisson, we knew they were going to be great. But there needs to be a clear philosophy and structure, and it's going to take time. And I don't think Man United have that patience or have hired the right person. That's the two big things, right? Over the last, however long it's been now, nearly 10 years since Sir Alex Ferguson left. They've never hired the right guy, and they've never been patient enough with the signings. They always want short-term success, but you're going to have to give whoever it is now time. And I mean 3 or 4 years at least, if it is Pochettino, if it is Ten Hag.
It's not just that it takes time, it's that there's suffering involved. There is going to be a lot of suffering at Manchester United in the next couple of seasons if they try to do it properly. Do you think United fans would say they're suffering right now? So would they not sign up for a full-on actual plan and project put in place if it's going to feel about the same for a couple of seasons with the promise of, hey, on the other side, there might actually be something good to come from this?
I think they would sign up for that. I think they're at that point now where they're saying enough's enough. We need to have some kind of shift or change. Stop lurching from star player to star player and hoping that they'll have a breakout day like Ronaldo did against Tottenham. But that was not a good performance against Tottenham. They played like that against the other top teams in the Premier League. They'll lose 9 times out of 10. Against Atletico, I thought they actually did okay. But as soon as they let the first goal in, then we all knew what the outcome was going to be there against Atletico Madrid. And, of course, the overall outcome is that Man United crashed out the Champions League. They are going to have another trophyless season. 5 years now since they last won a trophy when Mourinho delivered the League Cup and the Europa League way back in 2017. So, yeah, maybe Mourinho was the answer all along and he should have stuck around at Manchester United for longer. I don't think that is the case, but it's going to be very interesting times at Old Trafford in the next few months. Let's see how they do at the end of the season. And then the summer, I think is going to be huge in this reset and another rebuild at Old Trafford. Let's see if this one's more substantial. And then most importantly, if they're more patient and have a clear plan with a technical director and a coach, whoever that is, there needs to be a clear identity. We've said that so many times. I think the last few weeks are just to underline that, right, lads, about Manchester United and the current situation they're in. So over at Pro Soccer Talk and NBCSports.com, we'll have all the latest news around United, their managerial hunt, how they're getting on for the rest of the season. We'll keep you updated on that, and interesting times ahead, as always, it seems, for Manchester United, good and bad.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch highlights all season long, and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend at 7 a.m. Eastern. And for even more content, head over to Peacock, where we've got live games, original series and a dedicated round-the-clock Premier League channel featuring studio shows, classic matches and much more.